My parents always told me they wanted the best for me. Turns out, their version of best meant anyone except the person I truly loved. So they gave me a choice: give up the love of my life, or get out of their house. I chose love. They chose to erase me. Stay with me as I share how one decision changed everything. And if my story moves you, I'd truly appreciate it if you like, share, and support the channel. It means more than you know. I was 19 when my world flipped. Growing up in Indiana, I was raised in a house where everything had to look perfect from the outside. My dad, Martin, was a strict accountant who believed success was everything. My mom, Lenore, smiled at church but judged everyone behind closed doors. We weren't close, but we had a system: follow the rules and you're accepted. I never fit into that system. I met Jonas Rivas at the auto shop when my car broke down. He was 22, a mechanic with oil-stained hands and a soft voice. He made me laugh. He listened when I talked. He didn't care that I didn't want to go to law school or marry some rich guy like my parents planned. With Jonas, I felt seen, safe. So we dated in secret. I'd sneak out, meet him behind the diner, or pretend I was at a friend's house. I knew my parents wouldn't approve, not because Jonas was bad, but because he wasn't part of their world. Eventually, they found out. One night, I came home and saw both of them waiting at the kitchen table. My mom's lips were tight. My dad's jaw clenched. They had gone through my phone. They knew everything. My dad spoke first. "You're going to break it off tonight, or you can leave this house and not come back." I looked at my mom. She didn't even blink, just nodded slowly, like it was the only option. Like love was something to be ashamed of. My heart pounded in my chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why they couldn't see what I saw in Jonas, how good he was, how much he cared for me. But I knew it wouldn't matter. So I walked to my room, packed a duffel bag, and left. No hugs, no goodbye, just silence. Jonas picked me up on the curb, headlights glowing through my tears. I didn't know where we were going or what would happen next, but I knew I had chosen love. And in that moment, it felt like I had lost everything else. When I left my parents' house, I thought the hardest part was over. I had no idea what was waiting for me next. Jonas brought me to his trailer on the edge of town. It was small and old, with a broken heater and flickering lights. Some nights, the power just wouldn't come on at all. But he made space for me. He gave me his blanket, cooked what little food we had, and told me everything would be okay. And I believed him, because he believed in us. I found a job waitressing at a small diner. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something. I took every shift I could get, morning, night, even the holidays no one else wanted. We needed the money. Jonas worked too, fixing cars wherever he could, but it was never steady. Some weeks we barely scraped by. When winter came, the trailer got so cold we couldn't stay inside. The wind cut through the thin walls, and our breath turned into clouds even while bundled up. So we started sleeping in the car, parked behind the diner. It wasn't safe or comfortable, but at least it was warm. Still, I never complained. I told myself this was what love looked like, sticking together when things got hard. I reminded myself I had chosen this, and it had to mean something. But slowly, things began to change. Jonas started coming home late. At first, he said he was picking up more hours. Then he said he was hanging with the guys. But he'd come back smelling like a bar, sometimes with lipstick on his shirt or a number scribbled on his arm. He acted different, distant, cold, like I was just another burden. I tried to talk to him. I asked if everything was okay, if we were okay. He brushed me off with tired eyes and half answers. One night, after another late return, he looked at me and said, "I didn't sign up for all this struggle, Callie. This isn't fun anymore." I felt something break inside me. I had left everything for him. My home, my family, my entire life. And now, the only person I had left was starting to disappear too. I always thought betrayal would come with some kind of warning, a strange feeling, a slip of the tongue, something. But when it hit me, it was sudden, sharp, and cruel. I had been working back-to-back shifts for weeks, trying to save up enough to move us into a better place. I skipped meals to save money, patched up my worn-out shoes instead of buying new ones. I did it all because I believed in us, in Jonas, in the life we were building, no matter how hard. Then one night, I stopped by the garage where Jonas worked to bring him some dinner. He wasn't there. One of his co-workers looked at me awkwardly and said, "He left early," said he had plans. That was strange. Jonas never mentioned any plan. I brushed it off at first, but something didn't sit right. A couple days later, I saw them. Jonas was outside a bar, laughing with a girl I'd never seen before. She was tall, blonde, wearing a tight black dress, everything I wasn't. Her hand was resting on his chest, and he didn't pull away. I stood there frozen. Then she leaned in and kissed him, and he kissed her back. My heart felt like it shattered in my chest. I didn't say anything that night. I went back to the trailer and sat in silence, staring at the wall, my stomach in knots. The next morning, I waited until he got home. When he walked in, I asked quietly, "Who is she?" He didn't lie. He didn't deny it. He just shrugged. "Her name's Shaylee. She's a bartender. We've been hanging out." I asked him why. Why would he do this? After everything I gave up for him? He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're always struggling, Callie. Always working, always tired. I miss the fun. You don't even smile anymore." I stood there in disbelief, tears rolling down my cheeks. "So instead of talking to me, you cheated?" He scoffed. "I took you in when nobody else wanted you. Maybe you're the problem." Those words felt like a punch to the gut. Then he pointed at the corner. "Your stuff's still in that bag. Same one you showed up with. Maybe it's time you left." I picked up my duffel bag, the same one I carried when I left my parents, and walked out. No home, no money, no one left. I had given everything to Jonas, my love, my loyalty, my future. And he threw me away like I was nothing. I didn't think it could get worse than being kicked out by my parents. But life has a cruel way of showing you that rock bottom always has a basement. After Jonas threw me out, I had nowhere to go. I spent 2 nights sleeping in a 24-hour laundromat, curled up in a corner, pretending to be waiting for my clothes. Then, out of desperation, I showed up at the diner early for my shift, eyes puffy, body aching, and heart completely numb. My manager, Trina, noticed something was wrong. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "We've got some space in the back. You can crash there for a while. Just keep quiet about it." I wanted to cry, but I didn't have the energy left. I nodded and thanked her quietly. So I lived in the storage room, on a thin mattress between boxes of pancake mix and cleaning supplies. Every morning, I'd wake up before anyone came in, wash my face in the employee bathroom, and start my shift like nothing was wrong. But deep down, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep surviving like this. Late one night after work, I passed the local community college and noticed a class still going. Something pulled me inside. I slipped into the back of a classroom and sat silently, listening. It was a business class, and for the first time in weeks, I felt awake. I started sneaking into more classes whenever I could. I didn't tell anyone. It was my little escape, a world where I wasn't broken or stuck, just curious and capable. That's when I met Miss Janine. She was a regular at the diner, always sat at table 4, ordered hot tea with lemon and read thick legal books. One evening, she asked my name. Then she asked, "Do you go to school?" I hesitated, then told her the truth. Her eyes softened. "You're smart. I can tell. Don't waste that." I didn't know it then, but that conversation would change my life. Miss Janine saw something in me that I had forgotten to see in myself, potential. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope again. I didn't expect anything more from Miss Janine. Just her kind words had been enough to lift my spirits. But a few days after our first real conversation, she asked me to sit with her after my shift. I hesitated, still in my grease-stained apron and tired from a double, but she smiled and said, "Just hear me out." She told me she used to be a lawyer, retired now, with no kids and no one to really pass her knowledge to. "I see fire in you, Callie," she said, "and I don't believe in wasting fire." Then she pulled out a folded check. "This is your first semester's tuition. On one condition, you take it seriously. Show up, study, and don't you dare quit." I was stunned. I'd never had anyone believe in me like that. I tried to say no at first. Pride, maybe, or fear. But she insisted. "This isn't charity," she said. "It's investment. I expect returns, in the form of your success." So I enrolled. First class, Intro to Business Strategy. I was nervous that first day, walking onto campus in secondhand jeans, clutching a $2 notebook. But the moment the professor started talking, something in me lit up. Week after week, I studied harder than I ever had. I stayed up late in the diner's storage room, scribbling notes under the flickering light bulb. I took every extra assignment, asked every question, and slowly, something inside me shifted. I started to believe I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something. By the end of the semester, I had top grades in all my classes. Professors started to notice me. Some even asked if I could tutor other students. That's how I met Clint Merrick. He was the son of a local real estate developer, rich, spoiled, but not arrogant, just lost. He couldn't wrap his head around finance, and he needed to pass to keep his internship. I started tutoring him twice a week. He was shocked by how well I explained things. One day, he said, "You ever thought about doing this for a living?" I laughed. "What tutoring?" "No," he said, "helping people figure out how to make money work for them." It planted a seed in my mind. I kept tutoring, and not just him. Word spread. More students, wealthy ones, started asking for my help. They didn't know I lived in a storage room. They just saw someone who made complicated things simple. Miss Janine noticed, too. One night, she said, "You're not just rebuilding your life, Callie. You're creating a whole new version of it." And she was right. I hadn't expected this path, but it felt like the break I didn't know I needed. The pain hadn't gone away, but I was finally using it to move forward. It started small. A side hustle, really. After tutoring Clint and a few of his friends, I realized something. Most of them came from money, but had no clue how to manage it. They didn't understand strategy, marketing, budgeting, basic stuff I was learning in class and applying at the diner every single day. One night, after closing up, I sat in the storage room with my notebook and scribbled out an idea. What if I offered consulting to small local businesses? Not the big flashy firms, just people like me. Folks who ran bakeries, auto shops, local clothing stores. People who needed help, but couldn't afford $1,000 consultations. I started with the diner. My boss, Mr. Klein, had always struggled to attract the college crowd. I suggested a simple Instagram page, loyalty punch cards, and lunchtime specials. Within weeks, foot traffic doubled. Then his friend, who owned a struggling print shop, asked for help. I spent 2 weekends reworking their budget and giving them a basic email campaign. I didn't charge much, just enough to get by. But word started spreading. Meanwhile, I lived like every dollar counted, because it did. I still stayed at the diner some nights. I borrowed finance books from the college library and read them in bathroom stalls during class breaks. I watched free marketing webinars at midnight, wrote down every useful sentence, and built a toolkit of skills most people never thought I had. Janine noticed my progress. She helped me create a simple website and even paid for a professional headshot. She said, "If you want people to see you differently, you have to show them who you're becoming." By 24, I'd moved into a tiny apartment, my first real home since leaving my parents. It wasn't much, but it had a lock on the door, my name on the lease, and a window where the morning sun always hit just right. It felt like victory. At 25, I finally did it. I launched my own company, Brenner Strategy Group, a digital marketing and consulting firm aimed at helping small businesses compete in big markets. I rented a small co-working space, designed my own logo, and started pitching. My first real client was a family-owned plumbing company that wanted to grow, but had no clue how to market online. I tripled their leads in a month. Confidence bloomed in me like a new season. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building a business, a name, a future, and maybe, just maybe, a little kingdom of my own. It had been years since I'd heard anything from my parents. No birthday calls. No "how are you" messages. Not even a silent like on social media. After they disowned me, they stuck to it. And truthfully, so did I. By now, Brenner Strategy Group had grown into something real. We had 3 full-time staff, over 20 active clients, and were finally turning steady profit. I spent my days leading strategy meetings and my evenings mentoring young women who'd been where I was. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Then one Monday morning, something strange happened. My assistant, Emily, handed me a note before our team meeting. "Hey," she said, "we got a voicemail over the weekend from someone named Martin Brenner. Said he was looking for urgent help with asset restructuring and debt strategy. I told him we'd call him back if we had availability." The name froze me in place. Martin Brenner. My father. I hadn't heard it out loud in almost 6 years. I didn't say anything to Emily, just nodded and stuffed the paper in my pocket. But inside, my thoughts were spinning. Why now? Why me? Were they really that desperate? I made a few quiet calls through my network. Turns out, my dad had been laid off 6 months ago from the firm he worked at for over 20 years. Retirement savings gone in bad investments. Mortgage overdue. Credit cards maxed. They were falling fast, and clearly, he was scrambling to find someone who could fix it. And somehow, through word of mouth or pure luck, he'd landed on my company. He had no idea his daughter was the expert he was now begging to see. Part of me wanted to laugh. The other part felt a strange ache in my chest. This was the man who once told me I was throwing my life away. The man who stood silent when my mother packed my things and slammed the door in my face. And now he needed me. I didn't call him back right away. Instead, I sat in my office that night, lights low, city glowing outside the window, and I thought about the girl I used to be. The one with a duffel bag, no money, and a heart full of hope. The one they discarded without a second thought. And now here they were, searching for someone to save them. Someone named Brenner. Callie sat behind the tinted glass of the observation room, her hands calmly folded on the table, watching the 2 people who had once called her a disgrace. Her parents were sitting in the sleek lobby of Brenner Strategy Group, clearly uncomfortable, dressed in their best clothes but looking like they'd barely slept. Martin checked his watch again. Lenore kept glancing nervously at the front desk. They had been waiting for over an hour. Callie had made sure of that. She had told her assistant to delay them. Tell them the consultant is running behind. Offer them coffee but nothing else. Every part of her wanted them to feel what it was like to be small, to be powerless, to be forgotten. As she watched her parents squirm, she didn't feel guilt. She didn't feel anger. She felt done. For the first time in years, she was the one in control, and it felt like peace. Martin finally stood up and walked to the desk. Excuse me, he said, trying to keep his voice polite but firm. We've been waiting quite a while. We were told someone would be helping us with our financial restructuring. Emily smiled. They'll be with you shortly, sir. Thank you for your patience. Back in the observation room, Callie stood. She adjusted her blazer, checked her reflection in the mirror, and took one deep breath. She didn't need to prove anything. She didn't need to scream or cry or ask why. She had already won. When she walked through the glass doors and into the lobby, the change in the room was instant. Her mother gasped. Her father's mouth fell open. Neither of them stood. Neither said a word. They just stared. Callie walked up to them slowly, calmly, as if this were any other client meet. Mr. and Mrs. Brenner, she said evenly. Thank you for waiting. Martin blinked. Callie, he said, as if he couldn't believe it. She nodded. That's right. I'm the one you requested a consultation with. Welcome to my company. Lenore looked like she might cry. We didn't know. I know you didn't, Callie said, cutting her off. But I did. She paused, letting the silence stretch between them. Let's go into the conference room. I'll explain the terms. But just so we're clear, she looked her father dead in the eye. I don't offer help without accountability. And then, without waiting for their reply, she turned and walked toward the conference room. This time they followed her. Martin Brenner tried to stand when Callie entered the conference room, his voice firm like he still had power. Callie, listen, this is serious. We're in trouble, and we don't have time for games. Callie didn't even blink. Sit down, she said quietly, but with steel in her voice. Martin hesitated, then obeyed. Lenore rose, reaching for her. Honey, Callie stepped back. No, you don't get to call me that. Not anymore. Her mother's hand froze in the air, then slowly fell to her side. The silence in the room was deafening. Callie walked to the head of the table and opened the slim black folder in front of her. Inside were 2 sheets of paper, typed, printed, already signed by her. This, she said, sliding the pages across the table, is a conditional assistance agreement. It outlines the consulting support I'd be willing to offer to restructure your debts, renegotiate your mortgage, and potentially preserve what's left of your retirement. Martin leaned forward, hope flashing across his face. But Callie held up one hand. Don't get too excited. I said conditional. Before I help you, before I even lift a finger, I require something. Lenore shifted nervously. Of course, anything. I want an apology, Callie said calmly. In writing. No excuses. No, we were trying to protect you. No, you didn't understand. Just the truth. You disowned me for loving someone you thought was beneath me. You kicked me out. You said I was a disappointment. I want you to admit that. And say you're sorry. Martin's face darkened. You can't be serious. Callie tilted her head. Dead serious. You want my help. You'll give me what I never got, accountability. Lenore's voice wavered. But we're your parents. And I was your daughter, Callie said, her voice low but firm. The one you erased. The one you never called after you threw her out with nothing but a duffel bag. The one who slept in a car and worked 2 jobs to stay alive. I didn't need your money. I needed your love. But you had terms. And now so do I. She let the words sink in, then added. You can accept my offer, apologize truthfully in writing, or you can leave this building and never contact me again. Martin's mouth tightened, like he wanted to argue. Lenore was already crying. Callie didn't flinch. She just leaned back in her chair and waited. I live in my own home now. Not a mansion, not some flashy palace, but a quiet, sunlit place with big windows and shelves full of books I never had time to read back then. It's mine. Every brick, every chair, every carefully chosen plant. I built it. I built all of this. I run a company that helps small businesses find their footing, the kind of help I wish someone had given me once. I teach young women how to handle their money, how to protect themselves, how to grow when the world tries to shrink them. That's the part one loved the most, giving others the kind of lift I never had. My parents? Yes. They apologized. In writing. It was stiff and awkward, and I knew it came more from desperation than understanding. But I let it stand. I accepted it. They sit in my office lobby every Thursday afternoon now, like clockwork. I make them wait, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. And then I call them in, help them manage payments, slowly chip away at the mountain of debt they built. On my terms. I never let them forget it. But I don't do it out of hate. I don't hate them. I don't have space for that. Hate takes up too much room, and I filled that room with peace. They ask sometimes if we can talk like family. I keep it polite, professional, distant, because I don't need them to love me anymore. I stopped needing that the moment they told me to leave. The truth is, I've done just fine without their approval. Better than fine. I built a life from scraps, from diner tips, broken dreams, and nights crying in storage rooms. I learned how to turn pain into power. I learned who I am when no one else shows up. And now? Now I'm someone people call when they need help. Someone people respect. I became the person they beg from. And I never begged for their love again. Some stories leave you thinking long after they end. Was Callie right to set her own rules, or should she have offered full forgiveness? Drop your opinion in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if these kinds of stories speak to you, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you're always the first to know when a new one drops.